Hi, this is Daniel Posney, and this is called Shifting Perspectives. And this one is about spiritual awakening, about shifting your perspectives, and how just by shifting the way that you see something or that you believe about something can completely change things. So we believe that, I have a lot of work to do on this, and I hear this a lot in session. They People tend to kind of look at where I'm at and where they're at and make a judgment about that I've done a lot of work and they haven't done a lot of work, and so they've got a lot of work to do. But that's not necessarily the case. And I was really stubborn, and I didn't seek out a coach or a counselor or a therapist or anything actually. So it took me a lot of bulldogging to get my life to where it is today. So when I see people come in for a session, they're already ahead of me. They're already, in a better place than I ever was. So it's really not, looking at some teacher or some coach or somebody that you've got more work to do, people ask, how long did it take you? And that has no relevance on your path, because again, I chose to take the long way and the harder way. So all this really doesn't make sense when people say things like, I have a lot of work to do, it's going to take me a lot of time, just because they're looking at what they're seeing in front of them, what looks like a long progress, a progress or a process and a journey to get to that place. But it's not really true. When I first started to contemplate spiritual awakening or enlightenment, I had this idea that it was going to be like this big explosion, and I was going to become this great guru teacher who's completely enlightened. And it never happened that way. It's for me, it was, and I know that a lot of people would probably choose this way actually. For me, it was little enlightenments all the time. Like every day there was some kind of awakening about some idea or some belief that I held, or some enlightened piece of me or something. So the process for all this is just to do what they call self-inquiry. And self-inquiry is just asking questions of yourself and inquiring, is that true? Or where did this come from? It's just kind of, instead of just taking what your mind gives to you and these thoughts and these beliefs as truths, they're not really truths. I was just talking to a good friend of mine that I had done some sessions with, and he had an experience that showed him what he believed to be true from his childhood about how his mom showed up and how his dad showed up. The story was completely flipped. What he thought his dad did, he didn't really do. And it just kind of really opened up his love and his respect and different connection with his father, which, if you don't change that, if you don't really know the truth of how things really played out, or maybe what a bigger universal truth is going on, we would get into this mindset of, this is who I am, and I've had to become this way because my father did this or my mother did that. And in reality, not only have they maybe not did what you think that they did, or they couldn't stop what was happening, or there's a greater, even bigger truth beyond our own mind that we'll never understand. And a movie that I've talked about many times that kind of puts this into perspective is called Cloud Atlas. And what it's kind of trying to show us is that, you know, I've been the villain before. Now I'm the healer. But before, I was the murderer. And that now I'm kind of playing things out and moving energy in my life in a different way than I did before. So one of the things that it's in my life now is that I just find myself in front of a lot of women for healing, and being that man that can be in front of a woman that says no men practitioners, you know, and then I get called in for that, and I'm the best guy for that. And it's not because, well, again, I have to wonder if in my past life I was the opposite. In my past life I hurt women, and now is this is not my payment, this is not my, I deserve this kind of thing that I have to pay back somehow. It's just a flow of energy. And where I experienced that kind of energy before, and maybe now I'm just experiencing this kind. So there's no real, like when people talk about karma, it's not a punishment, it's not a reward, it's just a kind of a flow of energy where that energy needs to be attracted to. So, where was I? That this is going to take a lot of time, or I have a lot of work to do. It's all irrelevant to your own story. It's really for me that what I've realized is how quickly can you let go of your current personality, at least those parts that are not really beneficial to you. And I was in session with someone the other day, and it was a cord cutting, which is a kind of a releasing the judgments and the negative ties that you have with your old relationships and with your current relationships, to kind of give you a kind of refreshed, renewed um, connection with these people. So we put people in boxes through our judgments, and this cord cutting is an exercise or meditation to help with that. And the way that she was talking was she was saying things like, "Well, I just need to move through this, or I just need to let this go." And I contacted my sister. I just said, you know, we've both not got along, and let's just move through this. That's really not going to fix anything. This whole idea that you're just going to move through it, that was the old way that some of our parents and grandparents did it. They would just let's just bygones be bygones, but that doesn't really heal anything. So that's where I was. Self inquiry is to look at how this might have started, and what how it's making me feel, and how it affects my life right now. So it's these asking these questions inside of yourself while your mind is kind of at bay. So there's this du- um, dualistic thing going on where you're asking with awareness, but you're not engaging with your mind in the same way. So your mind wants to give you these different answers that protects itself and not necessarily you. Self inquiry is more like you're asking your awareness, you're asking your inner truth, your higher self kind of thing, a higher consciousness beyond the egoic mind. So it's a bit different than just asking what should I do in this situation and how do I need to, speak my mind to this person. That's a completely different thing. So what the self inquiry does is it leads into this next step of, okay, this made me feel this way. This, I can see where this started from my childhood. I can see where all the elements in the environment were ripe for this kind of creation, this kind of belief and story to be created. Now, what if I went, instead of running the other way, which is what I've been doing all my life, and building up these barriers and conditions, like this woman was? She was building all these walls and this masculine energy of protection and just being hard and being a badass. But that doesn't, it's just kind of, it decreases your life over and over again over time. So the next step is to let go. But before letting go and just saying, "Oh, I'm letting go of this," I believe that we can do that in some reality beyond this one. But this one has some work, connected to it. So that before letting go, there's this work of going directly into what it is that you want to run away from. So the feeling of insecurity and not feeling worthy and that kind of stuff, instead of just saying, "Well, I am worthy, I am, a powerful person," instead going right into this, where is the feeling coming from that you're unworthy, and what part of you, what aspect of you feels unworthy or dishonored or disrespected or cheated, all those things. And you'll find that it's actually your mind, it's actually your egoic identity, your egoic mind that feels any of these things. You're the one that is aware of the feelings and kind of standing here in front of this conversation that's going on. So then when you realize that it's part of your psyche, part of your personality, part of your egoic mind, oh, I can see where this is actually not solely me. It's an aspect of me that kind of creates the person. Now I can let go. I understand. I can understand where this came from. And all these steps needed to fall into place to make this environment look the way it was to my mind. And my mind took that and it ran with it and it created a story from it. Now I can let go. Now, to kind of balance things out, I can start to focus on the other feeling that I want to feel, the feeling of being worthy, the feeling of being loved, and all those things. So it's kind of like coming back from the depths into the light kind of thing. So this next step, uh, embracing and letting go. So it's a powerful thing that leads to spiritual awakening, because there's these what they call epiphanies. Some people call them downloads, or just awarenesses of truth. Oh my gosh, I've been doing this my whole life. Or oh my gosh, I thought this was true about my father and it's really not true. Or I can see why that happened. I can see why my mother left me, or, any of those kind of things. And what usually happens is the judgment that you had about another person comes back to you. Like if you were to judge that your mother left you at an early age and you were adopted, then it might be that you get to a place in your life that you realize that that decision came up in front of you. That decision to do what's best for your baby might be to give it up for adoption. Stuff like that that just kind of really expands you and opens you up to compassion and empathy and great spiritual awareness. So but these kind of things, they don't take a lot of therapy and stuff like that to get into. It's the talking and the therapy and the counseling and the coaching and the shamanic wisdom, all that stuff kind of is like a catalyst. So it kind of open things up so you can open up your consciousness. And then what happens is usually some kind of experience happens to bring that realization, usually beyond the mind. So that's why ayahuasca, toad medicine, even alcohol, any what's the other one, hapa, things like that, all these different things that ketamine, the DMT, all these things are kind of allow the to go beyond the mind and have the experiential wisdom of what you've been coaching on, what you've been counseling on. So I feel like the two really play hand in hand for spiritual awakening. It's one thing to have an ayahuasca experience and have this big awakening. Oh my gosh, I am God, kind of thing. But if you go back to your normal life and you go and you realize I still haven't worked on my shit, then it doesn't do anything for you. And on the other hand, to go through all the coaching and counseling and the one-on-one talking and all that stuff is great, but if you never really feel it in your bones, that you move beyond belief and into knowing because you had the experience of it. That's why, like, breath work is a great experiential wisdom gatherer. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's something that can kind of remove the mind for you to for allow you to see and feel and know and grok. That's the word, to grok what it is that you'd like to believe, that you are a divine being of light and love, and then boom, you experience it. So both of them play hand in hand here. Let's see what else I want to share about that. Spiritual awakening, history, awareness. Oh, so another book that really helps with this is called um, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And what Dr. Joe Dispenza is talking about is that through time and through traumas and conditioning and your environment and your childhood and all that, we develop this personality through beliefs and these patterns. And from those patterns, this personality develops, and your whole life kind of attracts what's inside that personality, inside those beliefs. You know, people cheat on each other, or people are mean to each other, and the world is screwed up, and all that. That's what you'll bring closer to you. So the idea is that you can release those beliefs and those patterns in your personality and find yourself attracting a better life and better conditions. So it's a kind of a weird thing to think about, that I could let go of my personality or my beliefs and my patterns, because you kind of feel like, well, this person, Daniel, is a combination of my personality and the way that I use my hands, the way that I walk and talk. That's true. And yet, there are those things that we can shift, that we can change. And we do it all the time anyway. We've done it since we were a child. We've changed ourselves over and over again. It used to be I was really protected and hardened, but before that, I was really soft and sensitive. And then I came back to being sensitive, but aware and conscious and in a different place. If you were to be lost on a desert island for 3 years, you would completely change your personality. So all these things can happen and does happen. It's just that when you do it consciously, you can really shift yourself authentically, not just motivationally, but authentically into a more truer version of yourself. And that's kind of the hurdle to get over, that to think that who you are now, if you haven't done any work, that is the truer version of you. Hey, this is just me, I like myself. Well, what you're really talking about is your patterns and your beliefs and your personality and this egoic self that presents itself. What I'm talking about is keep on going down that rabbit hole of finding out who you are really before the conditioning, before the ideas and the beliefs and everything. That's where when people say we're all one, we're all the same, we're all one being, that's where if you can get to that place and then find out who you want to become from that place. I know this is very esoteric, kind of deep conversation, but I can't help myself. So if some of this gets through, awesome. Just realize that who you think you are, to ask the question is who I am, this person. Yeah, I'm kind of hard and I'm kind of, but I love myself. If you find yourself kind of saying things like that, what may be happening is that your ego is speaking for you, because you're not hard. You're not protected. You are not anything but love and presence of being and loving awareness. Anything added on to that, anything outside of that, of just loving awareness, is part of your created personality. And yeah, we need a personality to be a human being on this planet, but you can change that, and it creates a much different, joyful, and happy life, instead of just bearing down into hardness to protect yourself, to make sure that you get what you need. There's a different way that takes less hardness. It takes just relaxing in yourself and completely loving that you've created this personality and these beliefs, and it's worked for you for a while. And then say to yourself, wow, okay, before I die, what do I want to become? What if dying brings me to the purest form of love? What can I do before that time so that my transition into that purest form of love is a slide in, is a nice transition, instead of a here I am as this hardened personality and struggling to meet that presence of love. So that's how I think about it. That's for my transition into death. I just want to make sure that that's just a slide into home plate. It's just really nice. So hope that wasn't too complicated and convoluted. If it was, sorry, but maybe some of it will be beneficial. And I hope to see you and talk to you later. Thank you. Bless you.